Karu, go away. I need water. I don't have any water. Boys, are you coming? All right. You can just let him in whenever. Hello, hello, hello. I can't hear. I can. I can hear myself now. Alright. He can be in here. Oh, I can let him in. Come on, Dobby. Come in here. Come on. Alright, door's closed. He's in here. If she wants to come in, she can too. Hello, 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 and hello, 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 and welcome. I wanted to do. Make sure keyboard's right. I can be seen. Alright. I don't need a preview because I'm not even gonna be looking there. So great. Oh, I know I would do that. Alright. Great. So let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to Monday night streaming. I am going to be working on my coffee app, hopefully audio is good and y'all can hear me. I turned gain up a little bit, so it should be decent, I hope. Let's find out. So welcome. Welcome to Monday Night Streaming, where I am going to be working on my coffee app. I appreciate you guys coming and watching. Even as you come and go. In the chat, I have the link to the GitHub repo. Do I not have? Probably don't. Okay. I have a link to the GitHub repo so that you can go see where we're at and see what we're starting with. I have a public Trello if we wanted to, so I can keep track of what I need to do next, all that kind of stuff. There's currently not really too much on it. I'm going to try to keep a lot of, like, I at some point will try to put my stream plans on there as well. I guess I can show you them so you can see them instead. Hi, I see I have another viewer, so welcome. I'm getting ready to get started. Cool. All right, so right now, right here is my Trello. My Trello is going to be kind of where I keep track of what I'm doing, what my stream plans are. You can go here. It is public. I can put this in the chat as well here. Let's see. That way you can get to it if you need to. Great. So that's in the chat also in case you need to get to it. But basically, it'll have what I need to do next, what I'm doing, all that kind of stuff here. So with that being said, let's just jump right in and get started. Feel free, put anything in the chat that you want me to answer, and I will try to get to it. Not try. I will get to it. I'll answer. As you see, I didn't have anything really planned for today. I said last time I was going to work on getting the state working. Let's see what the app actually looks like real quick. No preview there because everything is in content view. So let's see. That way we can get an overview of what it looks like here. I need to put in the GitHub thing into Trello. I'm going to add that. While that's building. Cool. Feel free while this is building to go ahead and ask me a question if you want. I am just trying to wait and get this going. So what we're building tonight is a SwiftUI coffee timer app. It looks, here we go, like this. I can also show you what else it's supposed to look like here. What I'm shooting for in the but basically what we're going to do is actually get these working today and probably fix some of the UI design a bit too so that it looks a little bit more balanced and a little bit bigger. And I wanted to put in custom font sizes so that 0000 is a tad bit bigger. I'm trying to get this to look relatively similar to what we see here, where we have our title. The start and stop is going to be a little bit further down. Start and stop will change based on whether the timer is actually going or not going. That kind of deal. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. And I want to start making some things editable here. So the first thing I need to do, I'm going to try to tackle is the when you tap on coffee ground, it's going to pop up and let me type in an amount. I have to first figure out where I want to. This is going to be a very simple app. I know when I made the app, I started off with a data model. I don't think I want to have that in there yet. Putting in core data is not something I'm really planning on doing right away. So I just will, it's just there for me to use, for me to use a little bit later. What we're going to do is go into views calculation view, calc main, coffee amount. Cool. So I broke everything up into really small chunks so that it's a little bit easier for me to find out of calc main. If I decide to expand this out of basically just content view, so if I wanted to expand it and have like at the bottom like a tabbed navigation to where, oh, you have your calculation and then you have like previous calculations, and that's basically why I did it, not just all in content view. Coffee amount. So instead of this just being an H stack, I really want this to be a button. But I'm going to do that from calc main instead of inside coffee amount. That way I can put in a state for so basically what I'm making is a variable here that lets me say whether or not to is coffee amount editable, so that we can say whether or not to show that sheet, pop up that sheet from the bottom that lets us change the coffee amount. And we're going to default it to false. Then we want to go here. Oh, I forgot to put var. We're going to keep it as a private var for now, because it's not really going to be needed outside of this calc main. Cool. So from down here, so now we're going to add in a button. So I'm going to embed in, that is not an option. So we'll just cut button action. Inside the action, we're going to say self.is coffee amount editable dot toggle. So that's just going to say true. If it's false, turn it true. If it's true, turn it false. And then we get to put in our label. So with that done, we're going to hit resume and let that go. Yay, build was successful. Sweet. If I hit this button, and I'm going to actually put here we're going to add in this string here so that so we can just see if coffee editable coffee amount is editable. That way we can just see what it is right away. So let's go ahead and try again. Dot description. There we go. That should be better. So fol/n. And we're just gonna. That's fine. I mean, basically it's just there to make sure that the button works. So what's really cool about SwiftUI that I've done so far is that we have this preview, and I haven't decided not to use them. So what we can do here is hit this play button. That's actually going to make the options is going to make things pretty interactivable in the canvas here, in our preview here. Usually I would build this and then we could see what's going on, but I decided not to do that this time. Just going to do everything on my computer. Succeeded. Okay, so it's just spinning. It's just waiting. Usually if you're on a beefier computer, all of this can happen in pretty real time. So as I would have typed in that false, then we wouldn't have as I typed in stuff, then we wouldn't have all these errors and it pausing the preview and all that kind of stuff. It just takes a little bit longer, which isn't too big of a deal. And sometimes it just takes a bit long that I'm like, okay, I'm kind of done and I just want to build in the simulator instead. But we got it. All right, so clicking works. So what we're gonna do is, since clicking works, we do want it toggleable. We can take off this amount here. And you'll see that it's going to come back. I'm going to go ahead and turn off to where it's not interactable. Great. So we have that going. Coffee ground, I want to stay black. So what I can do is inside coffee amount, I can change this text for foreground color. We're going to call it primary. And then, dot primary. That way, when we come back here to calc main, it should be black. Perfect. Great. So that primary was already given to us by SwiftUI, by Apple. They gave us primary and secondary colors. And that way, whenever it does go into dark mode, then it can go to white or to that very, very light gray color that Apple says. Cool. That way things just change. Great. And we're going to do a padding, a vertical padding. That way it can have a bigger touch area. Great. And we're going to do the same thing. Sorry, I'm just trying to think through what would be better. One sheet. No, because you don't change the water amount. The water amount is changed automatically. Great. And we're also going to do a private var here as well that is saying the coffee amount. And that's just going to be, and that's going to have to be a double. So we're going to say 0.0. And because I for sure want to force it into a double, I'm going to go ahead and give it a type. Swift is pretty good at just inferring what types you want, which is really nice. So that coffee amount editable, because I didn't have to say, hey, it's a Boolean like I did here for the double. I just put false and it picked it up. Cool. So with this double equals 0.0, that's done. So what we're going to do is actually make a new view to enter that coffee amount. Actually, instead of a view, let's do a UI, an alert. So let's do and actually I want that to be 60. We'll just default it to 60.0, and I'm going to go ahead and open up that guy. With a coffee amount here, and we're just going to say, oops, I started doing some more, I started working on an open source project, and they like 4 spaces, which is traditionally the Swifty way of doing things, is with 4 spaces instead of 2. I like 2, but I'll keep it at 4. It also is probably easier for y'all to see the indents a little bit. Well, we just need a var coffee amount double. And we're just going to say here. And it's going to get okay, so part of having the previews in here is you have to actually specify what the previews are going to be. And you have to give them all the variables that are necessary, because basically you're just calling that view that you've already made, that struct that you've already made. Cool. So I'm going to hit resume here, and we can see that 60. I can change this. Why did it fail? Missing argument. Oh. And what is that? That is coffee. Great. I'm going to go back here. Cool. So in this preview, so let's just focus on this guy. I accidentally closed it. Awesome. So in this preview here, you can see that I just do coffee amount, and it's listed here. Preview is going. Let me try again now that that was fixed, that I fixed that error. Cool. We have 60.000. We're going to have to change that formatting, which is totally fine. We can. I'll have to look up how to format string, how to format doubles. I'm actually going to add that real quick. Okay. Great. So now with that 60.0, I can actually go and change this to like 60.5 and we'll see it get updated here. It's just really, it just makes it a bit easier to do. I mean, it just makes it really easy to see and justify that way. Cool. So we're going to go back into calc main here. Great. So we're going to do an alert. I actually have to look up how to do an alert in SwiftUI. Alert in SwiftUI. Alert with text. I don't want show alert. I don't want that. Sure, Stack Overflow is great, isn't it? I would have to roll my own alert. So for that, I'll just do a sheet itself. So instead of doing an alert, we'll just do a sheet here. So I'm gonna one new file, new SwiftUI view. Let's do a, sorry, I know that's lovely to hear in the ears. Coffee adjust. All right, so that's getting there. So this needs to be a V stack. We're gonna put an H stack in it. We need to use a binding bar coffee amount. And we can actually just say I'm gonna open a something I've done before here to do a binding variable. We're just gonna declare a binding variable in there. Where did I do it? I did it probably in. That is not where I did it. Programming set. Here we go. see that I did a double and I did set dot string. I can make a new extension on the double to do that. Okay. I'm getting to, okay, so we're going to do get self.precision. Okay. So I'm going to pop that over on my other screen. Here we're going to, let's just tackle this first. Text. And then in here we're going to say okay, so instead of declaring this as a, so we're going to make it basically a computed property. Get, the getter needs to be self dot. Self dot. And then can we just say copy a map? No, it would be comes from calc main dot. So what if we don't make this a private? What if we just let it be a state? Calc main. Taha, maybe. No, isn't that what it's called in calc main though? Coffee amount, state bar. Okay. Let's see what Google says. OWASH as asking what kind of doc is that? I'm assuming you mean the one down here in the bottom left. If so, that's actually an app called SwitchGlass. It's pretty fun. It's by John Siracusa, which if you're a Mac person, you probably have heard before. It only shows me the apps that I currently have open, whereas I have the actual doc like down here below my screen, which is pretty nifty. It just makes it easy for me to see quickly at a glance and not take up the entire sidebar if I don't need to. I mean, it's the same as just having this down here going, but it's a little bit nicer. And then you can configure. So you can configure whether or not to show it just by holding out Option, clicking on the icon in the menu bar, or you can also configure other options here, where I can make the corner styles, and then it's also on a per display basis if I really wanted to. So I can, so like on my laptop's display, I don't have it shown because it's a 13-inch, so I don't have it that much screen space. I could also make it huge if I wanted to, if maybe I was doing something that I needed to really switch between quickly. The bottom left, I found the least amount of, I found that was the least amount of like weird of getting in my way, basically. Because if I move my code editor, it doesn't get it. It usually doesn't get in the way of too many files down here. Switch Glass is again the app name. And I'll put it in the chat real quick. Cool. Okay, so I am going to look up how to pass a binding variable to a SwiftUI preview. Variable to SwiftUI preview. Part of coding is also knowing how to Google and what to Google, and here we go. Needs to move. I don't think that's exactly what I wanted. Wait, option D? And option S is switch between spaces, leaving each app in each space. Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't actually see what... Command option, maybe? Yeah, I don't actually see what you mean by option D. I do have spaces set up. But, I mean, it's just, it pops open what I need it to. It gave me, it's also nifty for what I really, okay, you configured it. I was like, it's not working. I love using spaces and stuff like that, so I was just curious. You can also, when you hold down option, you can, like, show, well, on the, what is it? There is one that it will open up, like, if I have that window specifically, and now, for some reason, it's not working. There was a way to say, I probably turned it off for some reason, but in here, there was a way to say when you, like, shift-click, it activates, or when you, maybe he changed the option in here, but, like, when you option-click, it would take you to that, to the place in the Finder, which was actually really useful to open a Finder window. But now I've shown exactly how often I get to the Finder windows. Cool. SwiftUI preview. Okay, so I usually... So let's try it. At state static var. Okay, I have to make it static. I think that was my issue. Then we can just say bling amount. There we go. Now it's happy. Okay, so now we can put in a text field here. Text field. New coffee amount. And then binding string is going to be bling. Yep, of course it's not. Because it needs a string. So instead of at state private var equal, new amount. Cool. So we're gonna do it that way. And we'll just say new amount here. And let's preview it real quick. Great, and we'll do a spacer. Okay, so with that text field there, let's see, I actually want to just make that a number. Number input SwiftUI. I'm also trying to keep things as SwiftUI based as possible, which is why I'm Googling a bit more rather than just wrapping Swift UI kit elements in here. Oh, that seems easy. So put that down dot keyboard type dot decimal pad. So let me see, I'm gonna go ahead and do that live preview thing. But that doesn't show me, so we'll just build it in the simulator real quick. Waiting for it to start. Now I'm really curious why switch class doesn't do it. Preferences. Click. Re open and show all. It says it's running now, so let's see. Simulator is going. So just waiting for the app to actually load. Okay, great. It's on the simulator. I didn't actually configure the sheet to go. Calc main. We're gonna add in the sheet here. Dot sheet item. So we can just do is presented here. I'm gonna look into that item thing. I saw it previously, and I think that's what I need to use on another one of my apps. But dot sheet is presented is coffee. It needs to be a binding, so it's coffee. And it's going to be in, where is it? Coffee adjust. And we're gonna give it the coffee amount, but it needs to be a binding. So by it being binding, that means when I edit it, yeah, I know I did it wrong. Self dot. So by it being binding, that means when I edit it in the sheet, it should edit inside calc main, which is feeding what's in the coffee amount. So now that should let me, when I tap on coffee ground, sweet. Feature, oh, keyboard. Do not. And then we can dismiss. Great. Okay, so that's working as I thought it would, where it comes up, I can type in, then I dismiss. So the issue is though it's that it's typing in as a string and not as a double. So I need to convert a string to a double. Cool. How to convert string to double in Swift. Great. So double, so, okay. I'll be right back. 1 sec. All right, come on. I got him. The doggo wanted to come in the room, so I had to let him come in because he will drive us mad if he doesn't. I can just say double of that number. Sweet. So what we're going to do is inside, instead of new amount, we're actually going to do that binding thing that I was trying to do earlier. So we're going to do binding. Then we can call in a get. And that's going to be self dot. Playing new amount. And then we're going to do a set. And it's going to say new value, right? I just gotta see it real quick. Make sure I'm typing in the right thing. Yeah, so it's new value. Has to be wrapped in parentheses and then say in. Self dot new amount, of course, is going to equal new value. And then we're going to say self dot copy amount equals double the self dot new amount. Oh, it just needs to be a string. Great. So basically, I know this looks like a little bit of a mess, but what it's saying is that I can clean this up a little bit better. Cool. That way it's a little bit easier to read. Not that much easier though. Okay, so how this works is inside, what we do in text is we're actually passing it, basically we're creating a new binding computed property at this point. It's tied to that private variable new amount, which is a string. And it's a binding string, binding part type. And then inside, because if you're going to change it, you have to do that. And then inside, whenever we go to set the new value, then we say, great, new amount is equal to that new value. But we also say that coffee amount is set to that self.new amount. So now if I run it this time, play, it should say whatever I type in there, in this sheet that pops up, should be able to go into this main part here. So we're going to type in here. And there it is, 55. Or I can go back. 63.0. Great. The only thing that it's not doing is changing that new amount to be the coffee amount. what I can do is set that to do an on appear and with my H stack. Cool. Thanks for the new follow, I believe. I appreciate it. Let's see. Streamlabs. Oh, Phil, thanks for the follow. I see it says that you followed now. I don't have my preview going, so I couldn't see exactly what it was. But yay. Cool. We have our new amount here. I forgot exactly what I was doing. Okay, so in on appear, I want to get that new amount, that coffee amount to go into that string. So basically I'm going to say self dot new amount equals a string, and we're just going to force that double to go into the string. I got to do self since we're inside that closure. Yeah, I don't know, Phil, why you weren't a follower yet, but you are now, so that's okay. Yeah, I just did that. So you should probably never ever see that placeholder now for that new coffee amount, but we'll see. And it's okay that you aren't a follower yet, because you now got to see the little corgi come up and run across the screen. So now if I change that to 10, we should see that change to 10 in the preview, maybe? If I resume it. Yep, great. And then what we're going to do is also align the text now in that text field. I want it to go through the far right. And we can do that with multi-line. Text alignment dot trailing is what Swift likes. Great. And the last thing will be to wrap that H stack into with the padding on the horizontal, because that's way too close to the edge for me. And resume, and it should look a lot better. Drum roll. Great. All that work for that little thing. And let's run it real quick here. And then we would have gotten part of the interactivity done. 60. I click here. Great. Swipe down, 68.5. Done. Okay, so the next part we need to do is get this water amount to be set correctly. So what we're going to do on that water amount... Oh, welcome. I see I have 3 viewers. So hey guys, we're currently working on a coffee app that will hopefully make my life easier in the mornings. The next thing we're going to do is actually get this water amount here to change based on the coffee ground amount. Which if you click on coffee ground, it pops this open. And I can type in what I want it to be, except I crash it because it doesn't handle 0. Yep, I know what. I know why. That should fix that. So instead of force unwrapping, which is what caused the error, I can just say, great, if there is nothing there, then we're going to make it just be 0.0. Build successful. Let's just go try that real quick to make sure it's right. I'm going to add that as a thing that I need to do for testing, because I would like to implement tests in this. Add test for 0.0 coffee amount. This is a public Trello, so if you wanted to go check out or see or comment what I wanted on what needs to be done, you can. Great, so that's done. It should be running now. We're gonna... Where did that simulator decide to not go? Alright, so like I said, what's next is that water amount. So while that's launching, I can get ready to do the water amount. Great, so this is launched. Let me just make sure if I back this all the way out. Command Shift K. IO keyboard. Don't use this. Yes, I want to use the same language. I do not want to. There we go. Great. So now it's just, and then if I dismiss it, it's set to 0. Then if I go here, I can do 80, and it's set to 80. Great. All right, so that's working now. So the next thing I need to do is actually change that water amount. And like I said, I want that water amount so that when I change coffee ground, it's going to change that water amount. I could just keep it all in calc main and just let water amount take all of that. Which I'm trying to figure out. I don't really need to do, because water amount is only, the total water amount isn't needed. The calculation can actually happen inside water amount if it gets the coffee amount. So what I'm just gonna split the screen here, take that guy off, so I can go into coffee water amount here, keep this open, which isn't going to be too necessary completely. And we're going to add in a variable here. State private var. We actually don't need a state. We just need to say a var coffee amount equals doesn't equal anything. It can just be a double that comes in, and then we need to declare that in our preview so it works completely, and we'll just give it 60. And then I'm going to make because I know this is going to be a user editable at some point, we need to do a ratio, and that is going to be an int. Actually, we'll make it a double equals 6. We'll just type in 6 equals 16.0. Cool. So we have our coffee amount is our double, ratio is 16.0. So basically when coffee amount comes in, we just need to run this as doing the coffee amount times the ratio. I think that should get that part done. So let's build it, except it's going to get upset. So I'm pretty sure that ratio is going to come from user defaults at some point. But right now, I don't need it to. Right now, I'm just trying to keep things as static as possible to get a very simple thing running right now. So if I change this to 65, done, 1040, that sounds about right. The only thing I need to do is actually only show up to 2 decimals, which, like I said, would probably be user changed at some point. And then I'd like to not have that have to take over the entire screen. but for right now, it's okay. So if I make that like 30, 480, yep. All right, so math is working. It's working how I would expect it. Great. So now then we need to get the blooming part done. Blooming. Blooming, and these are all my ratios. So var coffee amount, double, var blooming, equals 2. So this is all what I use to make my pour over coffees, so it's no big deal. That, I mean, it's if and when I decided to actually release the app, it's obviously going to be user defined, but the defaults will probably honestly be mine because I'm making the app. It's something great that gets to be decided. So inside strings, if you use a backslash in the parentheses, you can actually start executing code. At least this is how Swift does it. So now we can say coffee amount times 2. Times blooming. And again, this will also be user defaults at some point. I'm gonna add that. Add user defaults for ratio and water and blooming. Change in their views. So the user defaults for you guys that aren't necessarily all up to stuff with like SDKs and stuff for iOS is pretty good for like settings and properties and stuff. If I'm only keeping like 1 or 2 things inside user defaults, or like trying to keep it only purely settings wise, then it should be fine. You wouldn't want to store like a super long list of things that you want to be like synced between devices or stored over time, because sometimes they can mess up, from what I've heard. I haven't had it happen myself, but you never know. So I had that error because blooming is being read as an int right now. If I do 2.0, that should be okay. And I didn't do this. Why did it fail now? Oh, coffee. Because of the preview. If you're not used to using the previews can catch you a lot. I know in my like larger apps like Hog OSC and my ArtNet one, I don't necessarily use the previews because I don't want to take the time to put in like I also don't know how to do the what's it called? Core data. That's it. I don't know how to do the core data for it. So for the preview, so I just don't. Cool. So we're going to change this to 30. Then I go down 480, 60. Great. Changing it again. $90. Cool. And let's take it back to 60. Great. Awesome. I have that done. The next thing will be to adjust the time for the bloom. I haven't quite figured out where I want to put that. It's probably going to be put inside the edit. So what goes inside the edit? We can kind of see inside my sketch here real quick. And this is probably going to be the next thing we work on. So I have Trello open already. Make edit screen. Okay, so the edit screen is going to have, again, the same title section, which I don't actually need necessarily unless I'm going to add different types of brews, which I'm going to keep for now. So this is how I make Chemex, whenever I'm making pour overs in Chemex. Then the edit section is going to let us basically edit things that don't change every single time that you make a thing of coffee, or usually don't in my book. So the coffee to water ratio usually stays the same. I'm usually buying the same roast, that kind of thing. The bloom length, I also usually want to stay the same. And the bloom water amount, again, usually want to stay the same. So this is stuff that you usually, at least I edit once and then it's done, unless I want, and then it's the amount of coffee that I'll change. So which is why that's editable via a push of a button versus in the edit screen. Anyway, with that being said, I'm kind of done for, I'm done for now. I'm not going to do any more. I did what I wanted to do, which was make the coffee ground interactive. Just like we can see here. And then I want to add a button to that actually to dismiss. Dismiss screen, new amounts. Cool. Stream. Cool. So instead of a whole backlog, we're just gonna record that. So we have yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to do here, was to get that working, which it does, and it influences the water amount and the water for bloom. The next stream, what we'll do is actually work on we'll actually add in a button to dismiss the new amount. So that when I tap here, it's going to change that. We will also add in we'll also get the timer going. So that when the timer gets started, we'll get the timer working for the next stream, so that when I hit start, it actually starts the timer, and then it'll change to stop with a red button. And do some fancy color changing hopefully as well. And then on top of that, next we'll also work on getting in the edit screen, and then once we get the edit screen working, that should fill up the full hour. I'm guessing getting the edit screen to just look like I want it to look right now. Anyway, thanks everyone. I really appreciate y'all watching. I'm gonna switch to where y'all can just see me. So thanks everyone. I really appreciate y'all watching. We're just kind of chugging along every Monday, getting this app actually built. It came a lot closer once I get those strings formatted, which is actually something good to do in the next round as well. It'll be pretty good, and I can actually start using it for the most part on mornings. So I just want to get that string done. But like I said, I'm going to tackle that next time as well. If you go to that Trello, so Trello, it's linked in the chat room. If you go to that Trello board, you'll see what I'm planning for the next stream, what's coming up next, all that good stuff, things that I want to do for the app. Besides, icons and stuff like that. I'll have to figure out what I want to do there. Anyway, thanks a lot. I really appreciate y'all watching. This is going to go on if you just tuned in for the last couple minutes, don't worry, it'll be on YouTube to watch. Anyway, I really appreciate it, and I will see y'all next time.